know there's been some consternation going on, but we all know that. Hopefully, I'll be making a statement here in a few minutes, and at the end of that, I think everything should be clear. The first thing I want to do is have a report. We had a mediation committee meeting first thing at 8 o'clock or 7 o'clock this morning. Friday, we entered into mediation with Gritter Construction over liquidated damages. It's a quite substantial amount of money that we're talking about. The committee consists of myself, Mr. Farmer, Mr. Worth, Mr. Dahl, and our legal. We have a path forward, we figured, with the mediation, hoping to get a settlement to satisfaction of our committee. And if that committee is satisfied with with the agreement, hopefully we get with Gritter, we would hope that this board, or the board that is sitting at that time, would accept that agreement. If we have a tentative agreement and it's brought to this board, hopefully this board would accept that. And that's all I can say. So, roll call of officers, and later on in the agenda, there's liquidated damage update, which we kind of already have. If anybody wants to add anything at that time, they can do that.
I've got a point of order,
Yes,
Mr. Chairman, is that I'm not sure of the legality of using interactive, remote interactive board attendance, especially in the light of what happened a month ago when I when I tried to attend via Google Hangouts.
Yep.
And you know, my terminal was active, everything, and you know, I got an error message said that North Kooch was not picking up. Now, I think in the state statutes, you know, in our bylaws, there was an opinion that it was legal, but there are certain conditions, you know, and I believe that I don't think we're ready for this yet. We have to come up with a better system. And so I don't really believe that we should allow this until the point at which we get, you know, we get up to speed. And I don't know if anybody's ever reviewed the statute, the statutes regarding this, but.
What do you mean by up to speed?
Well, you know, according to the statute, that we have to have a better setup. I mean, the person has, and then there are other conditions such as having the remote locations open to the public, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know, I'm just asking the question, if anybody's fully reviewed that.
I have. I looked at it since this last meeting. And the way I read the law, the statute 13-02, it says we cannot have Tom Worth in our meeting as a voting member. He can sit there and watch. He can't talk because the board hasn't followed the state policy, which requires a notice being posted of both of where he's at and where we're at and where the meetings are going to be. And that's state law. That's the way I read it. And maybe somebody else has a better idea, but I believe we've been violating that law since I've been on the board. And
I will say that I've sat in many meetings, and meetings where there was not a quorum present, and by the use of just telephone, it makes it legal to make the discussion and to have the vote. And I see no reason he's sitting here just as if he was sitting anywhere else. Last month, Mr. Brugman attempted to come into the meeting as a board member. It failed. And now he's
you
not.
shut him off.
He was not.
This man here sat right at, looked at you,
Okay, but it's not.
give us a dirty look and said, shut him off. Yeah, don't laugh, it ain't funny.
Come on.
Not funny.
Come on, Mr. Farmer, let's be. So I guess we're gonna have to have this discussion at the board. If you wanna call for a vote,
Mr. Chairman,
yes.
we've had 3 legal opinions, one from the county attorney, one from Steve Shimon, and one from Joe Boyle. Joe Boyle doesn't feel it's adequate. I passed that on to the board. The board discussed it in depth, took Mr. Shimon's opinion and Jeff McCloskey's opinion. Now, what all these little intricacies, I don't know, but according to those two, this was legal. John Brugman has taken part and voted in meetings on this, so now it's not happening. I'm not getting it.
Well, I have in the past. As a matter of fact, I tested the hookup in the prior week to when the board meeting was, and it worked. It worked okay then. But somehow, on the day of the board meeting, you couldn't connect me. And I don't think it was my fault because my terminal was active. I saw, and the error message was, North missed a call from you. North Koochiching missed a call from you. So, you know.
I don't know what the error message means, John.
Hmm?
I don't know what that error message means. We never saw that
Well-
message. All we know is you were not active.
Yeah, well, I'm pretty sure that it was, the fault was here.
Steve?
And I could hear Johnny fine on the phone, so if it's allowed by phone, he, being a sitting board member, he had more right to be involved in the meeting than a Rainier alternate, is my opinion.
This
Mr. Chairman,
done.
I believe the record should show that your replacement from Rainier was duly seated at this board table, and that you were just not a voting member of the board at that time, but you were,
Who seated it?
the board did. The mayor of Rainier,
No,
okay.
no.
Something else the law says, Mr. Worth is supposed to be able to be seen by everybody in this room. I don't believe everybody can see Mr. Worth. And I don't know how anybody can read it any other way. I mean, I'm sorry. They have rules, regulations, and we as a board should be responsible enough to go by the rules and regulations.
Feeling of the board.
Can we research this further and for this meeting, Tom can participate but not vote? Is that okay?
No, I said that. He can sit, but he can't talk and he can't vote.
Okay,
That's the big issue, is the voting.
And then by our next meeting, we should have a clarification on what the rules
All
are.
it
Everybody
says-
should get a copy of the rules so we know what they are.
State law says here, reading that it is legal to use interactive television. But it says you need to post to the public where that man is sitting. So we would have to have Tom's address, the way I understand it, and post that publicly. Is that correct?
Yes, and his location has to be open to the public wherever he's at.
and for the record, I didn't get that in
So-
Mr.
so what
Shimon's
is-
previous opinion.
That is fine. So, we will continue the meeting. Mr. Worth will be a public member.
Would it be in order to table this then to our next meeting? A motion? No?
Motion, no, I think, reading the law, it says that Tom's place where he is sitting needs to be posted to the public.
I guess
That's what the law says.
he is still a acting participant of the meeting, so if there was a lack of quorum issue, would he qualify?
No, not according to the law. So, that is something that we all learn. With that, I would like to make a statement to the board. This last year in 2013 sometime, the mayor removed Mr. Kelly Myers and his Sean Mason from the board and appointed Mr. Farmer and Mr. Rudd. And at that time, I think the vice chair was Mr. Billig. He served out the rest of that term. Late last winter, January, February, we opened up nominations for election for board chair. I was nominated and seconded by Mr. Farmer. A white ballot for unanimous vote was made and was seconded by Mr. Rudd. And I believe that I was elected board chair because of my qualifications, my experience, and I believe the board members trusted me. Wastewater treatment is probably one of the most important infrastructures that we have in a community. If you don't have wastewater treatment, you don't have this town sitting here. Citizens need to get up in the morning, do their duty, flush their toilets, take their showers, and they don't care where it goes. All they know is it's away from them. But there's a fine plant sitting here with great employees that accept all of this waste treatment. We have a great plant that the water is treated and sent down the river for other people to use. That's what we do, and we do it fine. And my goal the whole time of sitting on this board was to serve the community and to do it to the best of my ability. And this board is entering into a very important time in mediation, possibly court case with Gridder Construction, over almost $500,000. This board has to take that very seriously because that is taxpayers' dollars. That is money that this board and this North Kooch Sanitary District deserves, and we're going to attempt to get. In March of 2014, the mayor approached the executive director and asked for the dates of the members when their terms expired, and I think I passed that out. The executive director talked with the mayor, and the mayor said that he needed or would like to have continuity because the dates of expiration are all over the place. And I agree, they're all over because of resignations, death, whatever. So, the executive director came up with an idea. He met again with the mayor and he gave it to him. The mayor, I believe, stated that that looked good. And with that, Mr. Tom Worth and myself, our terms were to expire December 31st of 2014. Since that time, the mayor has stated numerous occasions in letters and at least 4 times at city councils that December 31st, 2014 was the date of expiration. And the executive director admits by fault that he never presented that to the board. And there's no place in anywhere in record that the mayor presented that to the city council. I was not informed, and I don't know if Mr. Worth was informed. But then I was told in the fall of 2014 that my term will expire December 31st. On October 20th, I, along with the executive director, sent a letter to the mayor outlining Minnesota law 1981, chapter 291, section 2, sub 3, and we all know what that is. It states how vacancies are to be filled. At that time, I applied, put my name forward to the mayor in a timely manner. After hearing nothing, I visited the mayor in his office and I asked him if he was going to comply with the enabling legislation. And he told me at that time that he would comply with city charter or city code. At a December 2nd city council meeting, Mr. Shimon was asked by Councilor Roggenrud, I believe, his interpretation of the enabling legislation. And it's about 3 or 4 sentences, but after about 15 minutes of talking, Mr. Shimon quoted that you never know, be going before a judge, what will happen. But I believe we have a 50-50 chance. December 15th was the last regular city council meeting for the year. That was the last chance to, what I believe, for the city to comply with enabling legislation. There was no nominations, no vote. On December 27th, the mayor nominated Mr. Worth and Mr. Robert Thompson. On January 5th, the first meeting of the city council, the organizational meeting, the mayor presented both candidates, and at that point, Councilor Kaler asked to vote on them separately. The mayor complied. Mr. Worth was accepted unanimously, but because of being short one counselor, Mr. Thompson's nomination could not get a second. The mayor seconded from the chair, which I find, in all my time on the county board, chairing many meetings, I have never seen a chair second. That failed on a 2-2 vote. The mayor said he would bring it back on January 19th, and at that point, he had a motion and a second, and it passed on a 3-2 vote. During all this time that was going on, letters were sent back and forth between the parties and to Judge Kurt Marvin from the 9th District Court. I sent a letter asking the judge to rule on the legality or what exactly the enabling legislation meant. The mayor also sent a letter to Judge Marvin claiming that the city has the right to make their own nominations. At that point, Judge Marvin said he could not act unless he had a petition from a party. I sent a petition to Judge Marvin, copying the mayor and the city with a summons that they had 20 days to react or to comply or to respond to my petition. I received that this morning. I don't know if it's 20 days or not. At that point, Judge Marvin asked for a scheduling conference. And at that point, when the judge moves into a scheduling conference, I believe that he felt that there was substantial reasoning to take either testimony or whatever. He even talked about maybe assigning it to a different judge. But anyway, that scheduling conference was on last Friday, February 6th at 4 p.m. We were all ready to go. The city arrived to the conference about 5 minutes late. And they had an affidavit at that time that had not been presented to me, to the judge. And then there was a knock at Mr. Boyle's door at that time, and it was presented to him, I believe. At that meeting, the first thing that Attorney Shimon announced is that he had the cure. This is all for naught. He said after researching and making phone calls, they found out that my term did not expire till February 28th, 2015. And that Mr. Worth's term expired, I think, in 2016, I believe. Wow. Newfound information. I knew nothing of a February 15th or February 28th expiration date. I was believing from the executive director and from the mayor that my term expired December 31st. At no point, according to assertions, had the executive director and I ever played games with the expiration dates. We have not attempted to dupe anybody. It was agreement between the executive director and the mayor on December 31st as being the dates. But being that it was never brought to this board and it was never brought to the city council, by law, I believe the February 28th, 2016 is the legal date. That puts the nomination and the vote of Mr. Thompson within the enabling legislation. So what I will do, I plan to finish out my term to February 28th. I will send a letter to Judge Marvin retracting my petition. And on March 1st, if that is the position of the city, Mr. Thompson will take his chair at this board. Is that acceptable?
That's acceptable to the city, yes.
Okay. Comments before we move on? Okay, formally roll call. Everybody's here except for, I guess, Mr. Worth. And we will get this, or the future board will get this worked out. Audience, anybody from the audience? Mr. Worth. Mr.
If I
Chairman.
may just say, I'll be happy to share with the board what the state law allows with regard to mayors having the right, all the same rights as any member of the council to make motions and to second them. I'll provide that to you.
That's fine. I understand that some boards are different. But at the county board, the chair does not motion or second from the chair. And that's Robert's rules. So we differ on that a little bit, that's fine. Any other comments from the,
I guess I just have one comment.
go ahead.
How come all of a sudden these dates of when your term expires, I mean, I see they're all different dates. Is that because of the replacement?
That, Mike, is the way I understand it because of death. Former Mayor Murray chaired this, and he was on this board when he passed away. He was replaced. People have left, whatever. And since 1981, there've been many changes, so the dates have, and I don't know exactly how it ever started. But between the executive director and the mayor, it was decided that they need some continuity. And I think everybody agrees with that. You just can't have them all over the place. So that's what the attempt was, but at no point was there any,
I understand that.
any,
I guess I would think if some way we can do it where there's, like you say, more continuity.
if the city, these are their members that represent this board. And it's up to them to decide when their terms start and end. But, go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, the mayor's had in his hands, and he has in hands, which I think is a very logical schedule. He accepted it. I think it's up to him to put it in action. It's his responsibility then to bring it to the council. I was under the impression it was, but it wasn't. I think it's in his court now.
But it's a moot point now. That is discussion between the city and the district. And the mayor and the city request, or need to have dates that work for them. It's their members.
And Mr. Chairman, the enabling legislation is a strong document. I would ask then that when the mayor and the council do formally have those dates, that they're spelled out as the enabling legislation does say 6 years, but it doesn't put a number of terms on it. If the city wants something in an addendum to be put into the law, please send us a letter when that is done through motion and a second.
All right, we'll move on. Minutes from the January 12th, 2015 board meeting. Motion to approve. Steve, we're moving on to minutes.
I had a question on the mediation.
We'll get back to the mediation.
So move approval of the minutes.
Moved by Mr. Billy. Second by Mr. Dahl. Discussion on the minutes. Steve?
I don't believe I voted to approve the disbursements, the January disbursements. because of the fact that it included that $10,000 for the city of International Falls.
'Cause I believe the vote was 5-3 at that time, correct?
Well, and they're saying it's 7-1 in the minutes.
He's right, it's MCU, I might have missed it in my notes, Mr.
Okay,
Chairman.
so noted.
Blair, no.
Okay. Call for the question?
Yes.
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 No.
Yes.
Yes.
And I vote yes. Construction update. Mark?
All right. Well, as far as the, I'll say, over this last month, during the winter here, Mark Levinsky is the only staff on site, completing, working on various punch list items. We actually had a warranty item, Greg, I don't know which one of your staff found, Magnet number 7. Friday itself, so we have one warranty item that, went back to the general contractor, actually Rosemont, on southern Minnesota, and they are. We have right now in the process of replacing about a $4,000 piece of equipment that he's been operating, and that, it went bad, but it's under warranty, so we are in the process of having that magnetic flow meter, pump P58 that pumps up the gravity belt thickener, replaced, as part of the project warranty. So right now, along with the few minor punch list items they're working on, as I say, I'll say more effort's been put into the upcoming deviation, just preparing for that and getting stuff assembled. I will be meeting with staff today just to talk to them about, I have a 8 o'clock meeting scheduled, a conference call scheduled at 8 tomorrow morning on the building automatic control system between the boilers and the plant controls, to continue that. So
Okay.
that's all I have, unless there's anything else.
Questions for Mark? John?
Yeah, I've heard that there's a problem with a recirculation pump losing prime or whatever. Is there anything that you know about that? Can tell us about that?
Well, pump P, I think it's P2. I can't remember, I think that's what it is, Greg. It's a recirculation pump for the 1.6 million gallon, the 1.4 train, the new train that was built. Right, that circulation pump has to draw up from the secondary clarifier, it has to lift about 3 feet, and that pump, we put a foot valve on by change order back in 2012, on that pump, and all over down from the standpoint of the piping arrangements, and and the lift on that pump, it has been a battle from day one, for the lifting that on that recirculation. John has gotten it primed, John Harris, he's got it primed at different times, but it is a piece of, from the standpoint of bleeding the air off and getting it to reprime, it takes time.
Is there any additional plans to do any more work on that to try to fix that design flaw?
Well, it's not, John would say, you can say design flaw, okay, you're lifting 3 feet. It's a pump. Whether that pump, and that pump impeller casing combination is the best combination for that application versus some other style of pump, that can be further, that can be further looked at. But as far as as I explained to staff 2 years ago, we made the decision not to jackhammer down and spend tens of thousands of dollars trying to dig further down into the ground on the bottom of that basement that was built in 1956 to try to get a flooded suction on that pump. It just wasn't, there's not, we weren't gonna spend that kind of money or take that kind of time to try to, to bust that out, so.
And I think maybe Greg can address that when he get to your report, okay? Is that all right? Yes. All right.
All right, thank you.
Disbursements, February disbursements, $75,528, Mr. Director?
Any questions, Mr. Chairman? Everyone's welcome. As you notice, there are blanket authorizations, as with a good discussion last meeting. The staff, if you have any questions about the disbursement sheet, fine, but otherwise I'll just touch on the blanket authorizations. You guys have a decision to make about blanket authorizations. If you wish to continue them, staff has looked into it. We have real difficulty with holiday gas, but they will allow us on the last day to pay that bill without penalty. Mid-con shouldn't be too much of an issue. Minnesota Energy, Minnesota Power, 1% fine, and if you're talking into the 6 to 10 grand, you're talking $100 late fee, do you wanna pay that? We can wait until after the meeting to pay our Blue Cross Blue Shield. Otherwise, you have very miscellaneous things. As the city has a consent agenda, most of our American Express charges are travel and training. Again, it's a consent thing that happens all the time. Most of these are, but I can understand if something big comes on that we shouldn't put it on blanket authorization.
Go down first.
So move to approve the financial disbursements for February at $75,528.98.
Moved by Mr. Billy.
No.
There's a motion.
There's some of the numbers in here.
There's a motion on the board.
I'll second the discussion.
Second, for Dave, go ahead.
Stephen, the second?
Stephen's the second. Go ahead, Dave.
I questioned last month our blanket authorization where we're paying bills before the board authorized it. And there was many excuses why we were paying bills that we shouldn't be paying, because our bylaws say all these bills have to be approved by the board. So any one of these things that are listed right here that have been paid for already, as far as I'm concerned, are illegal. And whoever authorized the payment can pay it back.
You authorized us to pay him this month, David. We'd have the discussion at this meeting, tell staff what not to pay. But you authorized and acquiesced to go ahead this month. We'll have the discussion now, what not to pay after staff looks into it. If Stacy wants to add to that, Mr. Chairman?
No.
Explain to me, it says here, paid prior to board meeting. When did we approve them? When did we approve them? Today is the
I
ninth.
can't answer your question, David, I can't.
I know you can't, because you paid them, it's not legal.
You told us to go ahead this month, and we'll talk about it at this meeting.
When did I tell you?
David,
No, I'm serious. When did I tell you to pay these bills? You can tell me that I told you last month to pay this month's bills. I never authorized anything for this month.
I was told, we sat here at this table and we said, we have to pay them under blanket authorization for the month until we can make the phone calls, but these bills had to be paid because they had due dates. So I paid them, I called American Express, I got the date changed to the 23rd. Blue Cross said as long as I pay within the month and I don't get another bill, that was fine. Holiday Gas, they go in alphabetical order, I have to pay it by the due date. I can pay it here at the store, that may or may not be before or after, but then we will be penalized. Minnesota Power was a 1%. I gave you one bill for $4,000, which was a portion. We know that Minnesota Energy will cut us off at Mid-Continent. I did not get a hold of Mid-Continent, but I still had to pay it till I can get a hold of them.
Okay, there will be a new board sitting here March. And at that point, you better get this ironed out, because we went through the same issue last month at the airport commission. I did some looking into, and we were paying penalties, and some quite substantial, because we were not paying on time. And the discussion at the airport commission, and I believe the mayor has agreed, that there is a need to pay bills timely. And we as a public group, a public function, we need to pay timely.
I agree with 100% what you're saying.
Yep.
All I'm saying
I know what
is
you're
it
saying.
shouldn't be done illegally. We have a set of laws and rules that we are supposed to be going by. And by me saying pay this bill ahead of time is wrong, we're behind, when the bill's already been paid. These bills, Chopper and Stacy and you and everybody else can make arrangements to make them fit our schedule or change our schedule.
And
that
you
what I
need
did?
to sit down with the director and the assistant and pick out the bills that need to be moved. And that's your prerogative.
I know, but why wasn't it done last month?
I,
Now we're going through it again.
Mr. Farmer, Stacy attempted to get them moved. Some she has got moved, some she cannot. We can sit here and argue this all
Yes,
day
I-
long. We can sit here and argue this all day. None of it is done illegally. We have used blanket authorization since I've been on this board, and it's never been a question. And now all of a sudden you question integrity of our staff. I find that offensive.
No, I'm not, you have rules. I can show them to you, buddy.
Go ahead.
Where Mr. McBride cannot spend money like he's spending without board approval.
Any other questions, any other discussion to the board?
What you
Doug?
want?
How do you wanna do it?
What?
How do you wanna pay the bills?
I'll tell you what, I'll talk to my wife, and my wife can figure out how to pay the bills. I don't pay my bills, my wife pays them, but she knows how to get around all these things that you guys are talking about.
Well, if there's a way around it, I'm fine with that.
Mr. Mueller brought it to you guys' attention a few years back and offered some suggestions. Obviously, they weren't taken.
No, he was part of the blanket authorization. He sat here for years and years with the blanket authorization. He pointed out issues and problems and concerns over years, in the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s. Blanket authorization was finally accepted. The airport is doing it, the county does it. The city does it through consent, but only for a few items. Other government entities do it. They trust their staff to not have to miss or be late on payments to pay penalties. What do you want to pay a $100 fine for, David? Because that's what was happening. That's why they changed things.
All right, that's good.
I really agree with you. But if the law says you can't drive over 55 miles an hour, you can't drive 70 and not expect to get a ticket.
And also discussion, motions, whatever, I don't know. When I came on board, blanket authorization was being used.
Mike, you got a question?
Carol Hoggy, I see last month, $435. What does she actually do when she comes? Is she still, what is she doing for this $435?
She fills in for Stacy when Stacy's gone. She also helps when there's an overabundance of load from East Kooch. East Kooch is still in an in-training process. It's a very delicate and difficult matter, and she helps Stacy get this nailed down. It's gonna take a little while, but also she is Stacy's fill-in.
and East Kooch paid half of that.
Good. Further questions?
I guess you don't ask a question, you have the answer. That's why I was wondering why it was $435 this month. So
Fair question.
I understand.
Fair question.
Well, I would,
Go ahead.
I know years ago they talked about these blanket authorizations and they mentioned something about generating a list of items that would be approved under blanket authorization. I wonder if that was ever done. Have you ever saw a list of items?
Yeah, that's a good question, Steve. We looked at things that would cause us penalty, or cause the district grief, or threats. There might be one or two things, $200 or $300 or $400 of things that we can probably skip and wait and put on the disbursements.
Is that something?
But it's like licensing for the guys when they travel, and we pay for their license, their boiler licenses and stuff. It's stuff that has to be done. But we can wait. Stacy has indicated what has to be done now, as directed last month.
Can we have a list for next month's meeting and when we can approve it, then there's no question what's authorized through blanket? Or is that a lot of, maybe
It's the
it's,
same thing that's on that old information that Chopper gave you.
Any other further discussion? And I agree. And the list needs to be brought to the board and to each member's satisfaction. Call for the question. Payment of disbursements.
No.
Yes.
no.
Yes.
Yes.
No.
I vote yes. 4-3. Disbursements are paid. Financial report. Mr. Director?
Yeah, your financial report, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Rudden had asked some good questions, as I think Steve did too. compensated absences, and we really have to have the auditor come in and ask these questions, and I do recommend the board instruct the executive director to have the auditor come in for an hour or two when we do the audit this year, to ask those questions. So Mr. Ruckman's question was depreciation, how come it wasn't reported in 14? It hasn't been done yet under the audit, so that number will appear. Part of GASB, I'm gonna be honest, I don't understand GASB totally done, if much. Stephen's question was another audit thing that the auditors decided to put into Better Track, and Cynthia had actually helped with that regarding vacations and how to separate vacations under certain criteria or time off or other things.
I don't remember, but thank you for,
Again, it's reporting process, and the auditor, I think it's a good time this year for the auditor to sit down with you guys and answer those questions. For years, we haven't had him here. When I first came on, we did for a while, but then the board just didn't seem like, didn't want to take the hour it takes to go over the audit.
Stephen?
I know I am elected as the treasurer, and there was some language in there that from past meetings that the treasurer has to prepare an annual report, and that was news to me. I didn't know. But all I've gotten in the mail is I have 2011, 2012, 2013 is this Walker Guru. They're the auditor.
Yes.
Are they the, does the district have an accountant? I thought I saw somewhere where it was Posniak.
We've had Posniak work for us before. There are auditors, they do our accounting, they do our work for us. Yeah.
We have auditors and accountants, they do both.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna be perfectly honest with you, as treasurer, as typical on these lay boards, the treasurer can look at the bills, see that they've been reconciled and checked by the administrative assistant, by the director, coded by the lead man from the plant, and look at them, just make sure they look copacetic. I don't, in all the years of my politics, I don't remember a lay treasurer ever making a year-end report. I don't remember of it, so don't feel like you're not doing your job.
Okay.
I've been in places where there wasn't an audit done.
Move to accept
And it was a lot of money.
report.
I would so move and have the auditor at the next time he does the audit to attend one of our board meetings to answer any questions that this board may have.
Moved by Don to accept and request the auditor. And they do, Don, they always offer, and normally there's no questions, so we spare the expense to not have them come up. But if the board wishes to have that expense
And that's in
and
the,
that request,
and that's in the motion for the financials
That's up.
with
Yes.
auditor?
That'll
The
be
motion.
June.
It's not seconded yet.
not seconded yet.
I will second it with a question.
Motion by, second by Doug.
When would that be scheduled for? Is that something that you would attend a regular board meeting? Or it'd be separate from that?
The auditor comes in and goes through all our financials.
Yeah.
And they do that with the help of the director and the assistant. They present everything, they answer the questions, whatever they ask for,
Three of them were here this year, and
we
they,
give it to them. Then they go back, they prepare a report, and we receive, and every member receives the report, and it's a bunch of gobbledygook that you don't understand anyway,
Right.
unless you're a numbers person. So that's their report, but they always say, if you want them to attend a board meeting, they will. But it's an added expense to the board to bring them up here. So, but we have a motion and a second. Steve, discussion?
There are some pretty strong wording in some of those reports about deficiencies.
And
that's all I want to point out.
And you- and-
I don't know how you correct them, but
It comes on every audit I've been, every group that has financials, the county gets the same report, that there's not enough separation of duties between the groups. It's standard practice.
We
The
get
city
that
gets the
every
same
year.
report.
every year, lack of staff is what it was.
Well, what I would like to see is an explanation from somebody to everybody that's interested. If when we read this, we're all reading the same thing, they're hard to read.
They are. But as board members, I think you need to study and be able to understand a profit loss statement. And that's just part of our job. You need to look at it and try to understand it, and if you don't, you ask questions. You know, and sometimes we may not have that answer as a board, as a director, and at that time you can ask those questions of an auditor. So, okay, we got a motion and a second to approve the financial along with the request for the auditor to attend the meeting. Dave?
Yes.
Yes.
John?
Yes.
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 And yes. Okay, we've already discussed liquidated damages, but Steve had a question. Go ahead, Steve, do you remember what it was?
Yeah, back in the January meeting, we had a copy of a letter that Gritter had sent us. And he wanted to sit down with just the board, no legal presence.
Is that done?
Gritter had sent us a letter in the
Yep.
January packet, and he wanted that, in order to resolve the, rather than go to court with this mediation, he wanted to sit down with just the board, no legal presence. And I said, well, why don't we give him another shot? And the comment at the board was, we're not gonna deal with him because he badmouthed our town and said he'd never work here again. Well, as we get, I don't know how, you were pretty confident that this mediation coming up on Friday, it might be resolved then. But I don't wanna see it strung out and have all the money ate up by lawyer fees. So
Understand, I don't think anybody wants that.
I'd be willing to just pull the plug on mediation and see what Gritter has to offer. I'm just throwing that out there.
Gritter sat before the board, if you remember. He came before the board and said he had nothing to offer, other than that he had no defense. That's all he told us. And he wanted all his money.
I believe
Well, I think we're too far along in the process to change our course of action now. The mediation is scheduled. You know, our committee has put a packet together to carry into mediation. I think it's time we've talked about that option of talking to Gritter again. It's fruitless. I think it's time to move on. my
what,
opinion.
excuse me.
Go ahead,
Mr. Chairman, what's gonna come out of this mediation now? Are we gonna have a final offer from, or the judge going to, offer a monetary amount? Is he going to?
John, at mediation, there is no judge. It is the committee,
The mediator,
the North Kooch, and there will be representatives from Gritter, and we don't know who they will be, and a mediator.
and the mediator.
And he will go back and forth between the group and do his best to come up with a settlement that's acceptable to both parties. And if it's not accepted, we move on from there. Mr. Boyle, you have
Yeah,
to just,
so the mediation is Friday at 9. The committee has met and they are working on their position. When we have the mediation, because you guys are a separate body, is all I can assure them is that this committee is acting in good faith to mediate it. And whatever they recommend, they do have to bring it back to this board to vote on. But no one has objected on the board to the mediation committee, and I know from my meeting with the committee that they are working in good faith. So hopefully, through this mediation, we would develop a proposed agreement that this mediation committee will be recommending to the board. It will deal with the amount of liquidated damages we will have. It will deal with how monies will be dispersed, and it will also deal with all those punch list items and warranty items that gotta be done. Now, what's gonna be in the substance of that, that will be decided in the mediation. Then we will bring that mediation agreement, by we, I mean the committee, to the board, hopefully for their vote. And I believe that the board is gonna be acting in good faith. I believe the committee is acting in good faith. We've had very constructive, good meetings by the board, which is Doug Dalt, David Farmer, Brian McBride, and Tom Worth. And of course, the executive director and I participate. And our engineer's been involved. So hopefully, at the next board meeting, we will have a mediation agreement. The executive, you guys voted unanimously to have this mediation. It's set up for Friday, and in good faith, hopefully we'll get it resolved. And it takes two sides to make a deal.
My point is that I want this to be over,
We all
and
know.
over soon.
Okay. Last one, Steve, go ahead.
For the benefit of the audience, what's at stake here, Joe? Okay, we got, our retainage is,
Our liquidated damages is claimed is approximately $500,000. So they signed a contract that they would have the work done by November 30th. And then after 17 change orders, on the 18th change order, they finally asked for an extension, which we gave them to December 27th. They signed a substantial completion date. So when they were approximately a year late, that comes up to $2,000 a day, $500,000. Now, we will listen to them and we'll bargain in good faith. That's all I can really say until we listen to what the other side has. And like I say, we have divergent board members, but by Jove, I think they're all working in good faith on this. We had a very good meeting, I thought. Anyway, that's all I can say.
John?
Mr. Chairman, I think I've asked at one point in time before, is how much have we spent so far on this mediation between attorney fees, engineering, all that stuff? Is there any way we can get an accounting of that?
We can get an accounting of that. We don't have that number here right now for you, but that was one of the issues that was brought up at the meeting this morning, that we need that number because it needs to be part of our liquidated damage. It needs to be part of our tool to negotiate with.
And I think the board will want to know that when we make a recommendation. So David was the one who brought that up, and we are working on getting that number.
I have no doubt that we will recover our legal fees, our engineering fees, and costs to the district. I have no qualms that we're gonna recover that minimum amount, so.
I believe that Greg Tyson, president of Gritter, had offered us $40,000 at one point.
Yep, that's correct. So, all right. Wish of the board, next part of the old business being that this is my last meeting and I am the sitting chair. We tabled because of uncertainty as to what was gonna happen, the election of officers at our January meeting. So it's been tabled, the wishes of the board, but this board needs to move on. And I believe that should be removed from the table and acted on.
You need a motion to
I
remove.
would need a motion to remove from the table.
Doesn't it have to be by the person that signed or did the motion to table?
That was me.
I don't think so. Was it Doug?
Anybody can make.
Anybody can?
Yeah, I don't believe it has to be the motion.
I don't know if I'm ready to make a motion right now, but
Or
personally,
I could offer, you could do it at the end of the meeting, but it has to be done at this meeting.
it
Because
does.
because you'll come into next meeting with no officers, no director, or no board chair.
We still have a vice chair.
It needs to be acted on. It needs to be acted, we can't keep putting it off.
that's what I was gonna bring up. Don is the vice chair, so, I would think the next month's meeting, when we have a new board in place, would be the opportunity to elect officers.
You have 6 members then. You only have 6 voting members then if everybody's here. Tom can't vote, and Brian,
I will be
Well,
gone.
I guess
I'll be-
Robert
At that
will
point,
be
Mr.
here.
Thompson will be
so
sitting.
there will be 7 other votes, you're right.
I'm just asking to remove from the board, remove from the table, if there's no motion.
I would
move
so move to remove from the table,
Move
the
by,
table election of officers.
there's a motion, to remove from the table. Is there a second? Second call for a second. Motion fails, it remains on the table. Good luck, folks. I will continue on to finish out this meeting. I was hoping somebody else would step forward and do it, but obviously there's nobody up to it.
You know,
We're moving on, Mike. That's settled, we cannot discuss this. Shay Septic Hauling. Mr. Herberg, there was a question on his license by Mr. Blair.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, and Mr. Boyle was right to point it out, it was on the MPCA site, but I was under the impression he had it, he had the license, he brought in the next day, so Shay is compliant. I appreciate making me dig a little more, but he did have it.
Thank
He
you.
just didn't have it.
I know I looked too, and he's not a pumper, he's a maintainer. So the MPCA just started that, so if you do go on their website and type in maintainer, then he does come up, and I think he's good till the end of 2016.
And he's fully licensed now.
So a motion to approve Herberg as a licensed hauler.
I still have I just have a bad feeling about how he handles his wastewater, and I don't know if the guys have any contact with him, how he hauls it out to the plant. I mean, it's basically a,
He hauls in the ponds there, we don't see him very often. He keeps track of it.
They have a logbook that he calls in whenever he's unloading 1,000 gallons.
he doesn't have a truck though. He has a car hauler trailer with a plastic tank on it.
The MPCA gave him his license, it's not up to us to tell him how to haul it.
Okay.
Back to the board, motion to approve.
So move.
By Mr. Billy,
I'll second.
by Doug. And I understand your concern, Steve. I mean, that's being also environmental services from the county, but the MPCA has approved him. Any issues between, or that happened, that's between them and the MPCA? So any other discussion on Shay? Call for the question,
yes.
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 and I vote yes. Mr. Brugman had requested the payment of the dog pound request that was approved last meeting to, I guess you requested by email to have a discussion, John?
Yeah, well, I had, after I found out what happened, and the fact that I was, for whatever reason, I could not vote on that motion. I emailed the director with my notice to make a motion to rescind that payment to City of International Falls for $10,000. You know, because this issue has been going on and on. It had real problems to start out with. It was an illegal payment, illegal donation to start out with to the Borderline Humane Society, and we are not allowed to do that unless we're specifically allowed in our bylaws to do that, and we haven't. Then it, well, it wasn't voted on at first. We were led to believe that, you know, I thought I was going nuts because I questioned the fact originally that we ever passed that motion to give the money. Well, then later on, it was brought to a vote of the board approved it, and then it sat there for a while, nothing was done, and then all of a sudden, this donation was repackaged as a purchase of the dog pound for $10,000, the City of International Falls. Now, you know, you're repackaging an illegal donation to make it maybe legal. I don't even know if it was legal then because we didn't have any appraisals of the dog pound. At one time, we were trying to give it away, and we thought we had somebody that would just take it away to spare us the demolition of that thing. So, you know, that is why I want to make the motion to rescind that payment of $10,000. So I'm asking for a,
I'll second it.
Motion and second.
I think going way back when this first started, it started out as a loan to the Borderland Humane Society. And then somehow it got to be a payment to the Borderland Humane Society. And so all along we were questioning, well, whose building is it? You know, what is the history? And I don't understand. I know the director was authorized to help facilitate moving the dog pound because it was in the way of the construction. It was an unsafe condition. Now that it's all, construction is done, I guess there's no problem with having that building there. So, and I think it's the city's building, I'm not sure, but I think the city has the building on the district's property and they lease it from the district, I'm not sure, the space. But I know it, the last month's meeting, it said it was approved in 2013, and we looked, and there was a motion allowing for the district to take over the building, but there was no monetary dollar amount attached to that motion.
I have a motion second to rescind payment to the City of International Falls. Call for the question.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No. Motion passes. I would just direct the executive director to request the International Falls pay $10,000 back, and I don't know if legally can be done, because it was passed originally. I guess it's gonna go to legal on that one. And this board's got egg on its face, that's all I can say.
Well,
The motion been not passed, we're moving on. Operators report. Been discussed and passed.
Mr. Chairman and members of the board, first of all, you asked about that recirculation pump.
Yes.
Is it working right, like it should be? Probably not. Because we can watch our graph and our trends on the computer, and we notice at night it's dropping out, losing prime. We've got an air bleeder on it where it must bleed the air off, is what it's doing, and then recovers for us. And then it comes up to prime, works for quite a while, works most of the day. It seems like it's doing it at night, is when we're losing our prime on it. But like I say, is it working right? Like we want it to 100%? Probably not. And like Mark said, the only way to get around that was the flooded suction. Obviously, you can't do that now. We got the foot valve on it, we're dealing with it. Is it important for our treatment? Yes.
And Greg, and we've only got 3 foot of lift? That should be nothing for a centrifugal pump. Should be nothing to.
I've been fought with this for,
We've fought with this since day one.
yep.
I don't know, obviously, there's nothing you can do
And
about
there is
it.
a
We're
foot
gonna have to
valve.
probably live with that.
There is a foot valve.
There's a foot valve on it, yep. And Mark, didn't you tell us that once that gets primed, that should never lose prime, once it's circulating?
Once you're circulating.
Then why are we losing prime at night? I don't know. It recovers, and we need that for our operation.
But is that
Part
part
of
of
the recirculation coming back to the head of the trickling filter.
was that part of the construction? And so that's an issue that we need to continue to explore. So, you know. Go ahead, Bert.
Sure, yes, I mean, from the standpoint of, I have it written down here already, looking at, options for pump P2. I mean, we have a certain manufacturer, and there's a certain impeller casing design. I mean, if there's something that is gonna work better, I'm gonna have to discuss it with staff and see if there's,
And we can show you on the graph how it's dropping out at night
not
too.
enough.
Question,
Yep.
where is this losing its prime?
Well, it must be in the line and the pump, and the pump just loses its prime and then gets airborne, and we got an air relief on it that we put on the line, and then you can see where it catches up and regains again. We're not sure if it's sucking some air from down below during low flows. It happens at night normally.
Is it possible it's pumping it too low and pulling air in?
Well, that's what we're just talking about. It should never lose its prime when you got the recirculation. Once it's 100% prime, that line, it should never lose its prime. As long as water's coming in and going.
But it's got an air leak. So obviously we got an air leak. And the only way
Or
we can
it's
get
sucking
air.
air.
Yeah. And the air.
Sucking that wet well too low maybe. I don't know for sure. We don't think so, Mark.
Spring on the valve. Isn't there a,
Go ahead, Doug.
Valve, spring.
well, isn't there an eye, electric eye somewhere telling that pump to shut off if the flow, or if the level gets too low? How do you shut it off?
We leave that run continuously. We
Every-
recirculate
every
a certain
six.
percentage
Well, if it-
continuously.
If it runs continuously, eventually it's gonna get down to a level that
No,
Well,
it's
no.
gonna suck
think
air.
of it as the recirculation pump in your car cooling system. It's just circulating. It's
Yeah.
not dumping water out and, you know, it's circulating the water.
So the level never gets down below the suction.
Because you're always putting water back in, it's just circulating back to that tank.
Is there any turbulence in there?
Maybe a little.
I guess I can't answer, I couldn't drive it. I mean, if at low flow at night, if we have a higher waterfall, I mean, is it creating entrained air?
It could, we'd have to visually look at that at night then and see, but
Greg, is that a variable frequency drive on that?
yes.
So, and at night, you say it sees ones drop off.
Well, we
that's-
set it to a certain percent what we
But,
want.
but as the flows drop off,
Well-
then it needs to recirculate, but the speed of the pump also may be getting below
Well, no, we've been keeping it at
Yeah,
about
good.
70%, I
70%.
believe.
Yeah, that should be more than enough. Well, it needs to be continued to be
Yeah, it should be,
researched. Yeah,
it's still a concern, yes it is.
all right, go ahead.
All right, otherwise, we've been also continuing like maintenance around the plant, motors, air handling unit, filters and stuff, getting familiar with different equipment in the plant. Also, we've been reviewing O&M manuals, getting, reviewing them and getting real familiar with how to service some of our motors and pumps and stuff over there, and it's all new to us, so we're learning too. It's getting pretty high, the liquid level in there. We ended up flushing the lines, we just couldn't seem to get it to go down. We ended up taking some piping apart and found a plug in the line, some scale buildup, and also a plastic solo cup we found in there. How it ever got in there, I don't know. But we ended up getting that out and got the levels back down to normal.
Was it a red one?
Yeah, one of the red ones.
Haircut.
Yeah, there you go.
Drink.
Also, that's just the height of the digester, the liquid level. Also, our sludge levels in our digester, we've been monitoring them pretty close. We also, so they're starting to get up there to the point where we're gonna have to start making sludge and putting it in that storage tank. Once that sludge starts building up in that digester, you got the clear water on top that, right up here that's going back into the influent. That's gotta stay clean. If we start letting sludge go in there, the treatment goes to heck on us. So what we're doing now is we're making sure that all our lines for our pumps to make sludge through our gravity belt thickener are all open to the tank right now. We got a couple frozen lines, we got one left to thaw, and then we're ready to start making sludge to put into the digester. In the past, we've made it till June. But now that we're making more solids coming off the filter building over there, our rejects water from phosphorus removal and stuff, we're developing more solids and sludge, so that's loading up our digester a little bit. But we just got one line to get thawed out and we're ready to go on that. Last month we just received another load of ferric sulfate. We're averaging about 25 to 50 gallons per day we use of ferric sulfate. That's used for our phosphorus mercury removal. And we try to run our limit right around 0.5. Our standard is 1 milligram per liter for phosphorus and 6.9 nanograms per liter for our mercury removal. We're well within limits right now. And the reason we run like a 0.5 on our phosphorus removal is so we're not wasting chemical. We don't want to run it at a 0 because then you're just overfeeding and just throwing money away by using that chemical when you don't need to. We're meeting the limit at 0.5, we start to hit 0.8, then we'll adjust it a little bit again. So we monitor that real close. Let's see what else we got here. The mixing motor that keeps that sludge tank mixed. Now when we start making sludge, we got to put sludge in that storage tank and keep it mixed. We just got this drive back that was damaged when Gritter was lowering some floor drains. They ended up spraying some water and cleaning the dust up. They took the drive out, so that was rebuilt and installed again, and that's working now, so that's ready to go, like I say. So when we get the line started, we will be using that drive with that motor for the mixer and stuff, so that is ready to go. As far as East Kooch out there, very few callouts. We had one area where we had to go back to this home about 3-4 times, and we finally had Crandall have to come up and clean the station out. And we got the homeowners educated what they shouldn't be putting down the drain. And that helps a lot. But as far as the callouts out there, they've really, really dropped off.
And I think that's credit to East Kooch, and our staff. They really worked hard to reduce these repetitive maintenance issues, so.
Yeah, we're learning all the tricks.
Yep.
Well, and another one is because we've been replacing those controllers out there with this new style controller, and that's what gave us most of the grief. The pump stations run good, it's just that little controller, that screen that goes out on us. Now as we're gradually replacing them, it's less and less call-outs, and Jeff is still working on that. Once in a while he gets a free day or something, it's nice out, he'll go out and put 1 or 2 in. So, that's all I got.
Any questions? Go ahead, Steve.
The disbursements, we had a $300 bill from Boyum for unthawing a frozen valve at the ponds. Is there any issue with that
We're
valve?
trying to, we had a valve that we had to shut off out at the ponds because we're transferring right now. We're in the process of transferring the ponds, lowering the ponds right now. We had to get a valve unthawed out there because we're transferring water from one pond to the other, getting ready for spring. In case we gotta divert all the flow to the ponds this spring for, any length of time because of runoff maybe, who knows, but we wanna be able to have plenty of storage out there. And we had to have him out there to unthaw a valve that was froze that we could not turn.
Not a faulty valve.
No.
Another question on the EQ, I know that you have friends come and pick up a hopper.
Yep.
How often do they do that?
Actually, he's coming once a month right now. We can go 2 weeks on a dumpster. So for the winter right now, we're just having him come down there once a month.
Is it solid or is there liquid in this hopper?
A little bit of liquid, mostly
not-
rags. Just rags, a little bit of liquid and stuff.
Nothing that's gonna slop out of his truck when he drives down the road?
No,
Okay.
no.
All right,
All right.
and just for the board, before we go to the director's report, Terry Jackson is we have a contract with him for his A license. I think most people know that at this point, the district does not have an A license. Greg is working on his, and we hope he gets it shortly. But by MPCA rules and regulations, we need an A licensed operator to verify testing and that the plant is operating properly. So, Mr. Jackson, go ahead.
Sure, well, I'll make it brief. I think that Greg Snyder and the staff at the wastewater plant are doing a wonderful job of protecting your investment, protecting the infrastructure, and maintaining the facility in a proper manner. Like Greg says, the guys are spending a lot of time right now on reviewing operation and maintenance manuals, particularly the new equipment, to get more familiar with that. I think what they did this month with community outreach and in providing tours to the high school, like Greg said, Greg and John Harris provided 3 high school tours this month. I think that's a great thing. There's good feedback from that. I'm sure that each of you have toured the facility in the past, but I would highly recommend that if you have a chance to contact Greg and maybe take another tour and see the new equipment and the process changes that they're making. Greg is preparing to take the Class A wastewater test next month at an annual MPCA training session down in the Twin Cities, and he's spending a lot of time on his own to prepare for that. He's doing a great job, so I think things are going well with the facility.
Any questions for Mr. Jackson? Director's report?
Quickly, Mr. Chairman, contacts with PFA, Nancy Johnson, contact with MPCA, just general items and info. Contacts federal and state legislators, mainly just discussion, but it's always good to put a little bug in their ear, especially about extension up the lake. It's nice for them to, put a face or at least a voice whenever we can to our elected officials. Meetings with WSN and legal regarding mediation. Stacy and staff have been unbelievable stockpiling information about that issue. Looked into some questions, good questions raised by the board members. Hope Hopefully, we answered a few. We evidently haven't answered all of them, and we'll try our best to get that done. And the board, I was gonna ask you questions, does the board want the auditor here at the, after they're done with their audit? That'll be sometime in June or July. So the board can work with that aspect of the operation when that happens and invite them up. I don't think they'll charge very much to come up and make a presentation. Attend these Kooch meetings, staff meetings every morning. Greg has been great, just like Bob was coming in, and additional staff at least every day in the AM when they get, that's the busy, or the least busy time. They do have, you know, testing and stuff to do, but it's when they can tear themselves away before the phone calls and before the office here gets busy. So it's a good time for meetings with staff and helping them out as much as they can, or whoever can. Working with punch list items and stuff. Again, mediation will be a monetary issue, we believe, we hope, and included in that will be punch lists that need to be finished by Gritter. Director will be working on insurance for the board to consider throughout this summer, working already on budget. Hopefully find out what numbers are going to be for additional maintenance and operation to give relief to the three entities if we can, what we charge them. I'll write a letter to the city regarding requests from the board for reimbursement. Stacy and I will again try to clean up on the blanket authorization for your consideration at the next meeting. That's all I have.
Questions?
You mentioned that letter to the city about reimbursement. No, I didn't catch that.
Reimbursement for the dog pound. You rescinded the motion 4-3 of you. I'll send the letter to the city, I will copy, I'll write to Ken Anderson, I'll copy the mayor, the city council, and I'll copy the county.
I think since it was repackaged as a payment to the city, I think it is warranted that maybe we have to follow certain protocol if we're purchasing it from the city. Maybe it does need to be appraised, and I don't know if you can have legal, maybe Steve can.
Motion, the letter has been to rescind the payment, and that's what the letter will be, to send the money back. Yep.
All right, new business. Signatory of Bremer, newly signed pledge cards.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, you probably want to wait until next month. Don's a signator, I'm a signator, Stacy's a signator. We're gonna need a few more signatures.
Okay. So, I would just recommend that be put on the next meeting's agenda.
Yeah, and just two, and it's not a big process, just see Lori Foss, you have to sign your name, and then you can be utilized as a signator.
And then this was also for pledging additional funds, we had to sign
Yeah.
to pledge additional funds last
Mr. Chairman, very quickly, we have money, we're gonna have to move some money around, and I want you to know that it's not money that we're saving. I hope that the board in the future does look at ourselves as the city, as the county, and have a 6-month operating reserve fund. But also, you're gonna see an accumulation of money slowly over the years, and that's that 50 cents on the thousand capital improvement. Don't look at that and say, boy, oh boy, we got a lot of money. You don't have a lot of money, because you're not getting any more money 25 years from now when you're gonna have to rebuild the 80s plant. And that's what it's for. There is no more no more interest loans, there's no more grants, and this is mandatory by the state. So when you're sitting on this board throughout the years, you're gonna see money accumulating. Stacy and I will try to protect that, or Stacy will try to protect that, and whoever sits here will try to protect that at the best of their ability. But you will see money accumulating, and there will be a special line item per PFA and MPC orders. So that's mandatory.
That is strictly for capital expenditure.
Capital expenditures and improvements.
They have to approve anything we decide to do with it.
Yep.
Reserve replacement, and that's why they make you do it now, because they're not giving any more money away.
Mr. Chair, can I ask a question?
Question from the audience, go ahead, Ms. Jackson.
I thought there was some portion of that money that could be remitted to the city.
There it's after a few years and it's a negotiable thing. And I agree with you. I would fight for that, but it would be only to the city or East Kooch or the city of Rainier to help improve infiltration and inflow. It's the only reason,
Okay, thank you.
not sidewalks or alleys.
Well, we've got our infiltration issues, as you know.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
I guess that's for future discussion.
Yeah, I just wanted to verify, thank
Okay,
you.
last one, Steve, go ahead.
On the February 2015 disbursements for the city of International Falls, there was a payment to North Kooch District for effluent backwash surcharge for $239,481. And I don't know where that money goes, or what it was for, I guess.
Backwash is from the water plant,
Yes.
and we have to clean out the water plant, and we accept it, and it's not a liquid per se, it is, but it's grit, John knows about it. We charge them a higher rate, instead of $2.05 a thousand, we charge them close to $7 a thousand
For backwash only.
for backwashing from the water treatment plant.
And that, when
That's listed separate from the flows.
in our financial statements, I don't know where it would be as income.
Affluent, billing.
Salaries, effluent. So that it's,
I bill them every month, and they're just paying their bill.
should it not be, shouldn't there be a dollar amount equal to this dollar amount somewhere in
Well,
here,
there
or is it
should be,
divided?
but they didn't pay a bill for last October that they paid with that $200,000.
We got in
So
trouble.
that would've went back to last October.
We got in trouble from the city in a few comments, but of course the city didn't pay their bills either, so, hey,
What?
you heard me.
So, all right.
How often do they backwash?
Fellas? We get like once a week or so, and we do bill them monthly. Yeah.
Well, they do backwash that often.
And again, go to the ponds and you'll see where it's at. It's an island in the middle of the pond. That's where it comes out at.
And just, if you understand water filtration, in the wintertime, they probably backwash less because there's less inflow, less turbidity, less solids in the water. And as the spring and higher rains and everything starts draining into the waterway, then you backwash more. So there's no set calendar when they do it.
Oh, okay.
It's as needed.
And a future board is gonna have to have someone go up and put up some type of barge or floating device and dig that up. Because the effluent pipe sometimes can be in danger of getting plugged. So we're gonna have to belittle that island a little bit. There's methods of stirring it up or taking it away or whatever. But you're gonna have to address that in the future.
May I ask another question, or?
One last one.
Thank
Go
you,
ahead.
thank you, Mr. McBride. I'm wondering why the rate is higher for backwash than it is for other rates.
Because of the solids.
Takes up space.
Because it,
Yep, and we have to deal with it later.
okay,
Okay, all right. Discuss annual membership in National Association of Surplus Properties. It is a charge for us to be a member of this group of $39, wishes of the board.
Mr. Chairman, just my recommendation, you can certainly just say no, but boards of the future, I mean, I've seen stuff would have been nice to buy. You're gonna see more of this coming into the States, most of it right now has been overseas to buy, but brand new generators, brand new huge lighting erector things, all brand new. And someday maybe the district, once this stuff gets into Arden Hills, might wanna go down and buy it.
So just wishes of the board
So moved to approve this
for $39.
for $39.
Move. By John. Second by Dave. Discussion. Stephen?
I think there's a website, a GSA website, Government Services Auctions, has all the
Yeah, there is.
surplus
Yeah,
equipment that you don't have to pay for, but I don't know what this would, joining this membership would.
Yeah,
add to it. I don't know why.
Well, it's up to you guys.
Yeah.
All right, it's not a big item. Mike, last one, go ahead.
Do they send you a list periodically what's coming up for sale?
They contact us, yes.
I think that's important too, you know, that you know what's coming up for sale.
The notification is nice, because you don't remember.
Okay, we have a motion by Don, seconded by Dave. Call for the question.
Yes.
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 No.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Motion passes 6-1. The next order of business, PFA payment, $85,539.42.
I believe that's interest payment, Mr.
Interest
Chairman. We have a
payment.
biannual payment, principal interest, and
And that
this
is,
is interest. It is low. The year will add up to probably $450,000, but because we still have $1 million plus about not paid to us yet, that's why this interest payment's a little low this month.
So move to approve.
move by Don,
Second.
second by Doug. Questions, discussion?
Is this every month?
No, it's in February and August, Dave, we have to pay these payments.
Okay, call for the question, yes, okay? Go ahead.
Yes.
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 And yes. Any other business to come before the board?
We're on new business, but this is going back to the meeting minutes from December 15th, 2014. We had a motion to approve the Blue Cross Health, and we had the motion approved 4-3 as it stated in the minutes, but I think it left out the chair's name on that motion to approve it. It should have been 5-3, not 4-3.
All right,
That was the December 15th meeting minutes.
anybody have a problem with that correction?
Put a small addendum on the minute.
We've already approved the minutes, but we can add that correction.
That was my mistake, I missed it.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, on your correspondence, if anybody has any questions, you do have audience, it's your discretion.
Well,
I guess I have one question. This letter that Don sent John Thomas, when was the first you knew of this leak on that County Road 46 in back of City Beach Road?
I don't have the exact date. I can go back in the records and get that for you if you need it.
You have no idea when you first knew about it?
Sometime in July of 2014.
That's the first you heard of it? July 6th, in that area.
July
I
6th.
think it was July.
Or
June
June
6th.
6th, and then the flood
June
date was
6th, and then-
June 11th.
Bob?
Everything is logged, so Greg can look it up and log and give you an exact date if you want next time.
That's what I said.
It's in the log. or
Those
else
exact
we'll-
dates we can get to you.
Everything's logged. It was somewhere around the first part of June. We had just finished, Bob Archie's, leak at the, just the week prior to being ordered by that. I know I was gone, Greg was here. Took care of that.
As soon as it was discovered by our people out in the field, it was reported to MPCA.
Glad. When did you first notice it?
Oh, it's probably about May.
We didn't get notified until after purchase, and that was at the end of May, when we did purchase.
Yeah, the day that you came out, William came out to fix Harchie's with the hole, I thought he was
It
gonna
was
fix
after.
that leak, but he said, no, he's going this other place, so someone called me and asked me when I thought it wasn't. I
It's all
contacted the
logged.
guy that was at Harchie's and of course, I saw it leaking, a week or so before, but at that time of the year, it's not uncommon for that. You get those cracks in the road and the frost is coming out, you see water coming out. And then when I noticed that it would go on and off, I figured it was the sewer then.
It's all logged and it was all
Yeah.
notified, FPC was notified as soon as we discovered the leak, so, or as soon as we were notified of the leak, I should say, so, it's all logged, everything's there.
Any other business we come before the board?
Yeah, some more on this.
Dave, that is East Kooch, it is settled, East Kooch has paid their fine. That is not business before North Kooch. That is East Kooch, they paid their fine. I believe that is settled, and it's settled to the satisfaction of the MPCA.
But it might not be over. You can't make that decision. I am the person that he is criticizing in this letter. And I will go back to Mr. Thomas.
Yeah, that's your, go ahead.
So don't try and hide it down at the damn table.
You know, before I adjourn the meeting, I just want to wish this board good luck. You know, I served 6 years on the county board, and I serve on
Right.
very many, very important boards. Arrowhead Regional Corrections, Tri-County Health Board, Airport Commission. And this board here is as important as any of them. This provides a service to this community that we cannot function without. And this board needs to function properly. Right now, it is dysfunctional. Meeting's adjourned.
Wow.